Hey guys, it's Mark and Tania, and welcome back to our channel.
So today we are going to tackle two things. We're going to talk about the cabinets and we're going to get them hung. We made a few changes to those rear cabinets since our last video on, and we'll show you what those changes are. And then Tania is going to show you all the tools and the techniques that she uses to paint the van. So stick around. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today was the cabinets. Now, truth be told, we've actually had to remake all the cabinets. What happened was, by the time I was done with this is the original cabinet here, and it is super solid. But what happened is, when I measured the length and width of the cabinets, I forgot to account for the fact that we're going to have a face frame and drawer and a door on here. So this was getting to be really big and a little too heavy. So I thought to myself, the main weight of this cabinet is really in this 3/4 inch plywood, this really 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood piece. The other stuff is pretty light. The 1x2 pine is light. So I thought if I could minimize the amount of 3/4 that I have to use and still use the same kind of construction, I could probably keep the cabinet really strong. So got rid of this and basically rebuilt the cabinet this way. So you can see the side of it, the profile of the cabinet is just not quite as deep. You can also see how much easier it is to lift. So I did save some weight from the 3/4 inch plywood, and when we add in the face frame and the doors, it'll get to the dimensions I want. Now let me show you some of the specifics of what we changed. So as I mentioned before, the construction of this cabinet is very much the same as the construction of our previous cabinet. We're just taking a little bit off the width here to make it lighter, and that way when we put the face frame and the door on here, it'll come out to the width we want. Now, a couple of changes we made inside. Actually, there's just some finishing parts we made. So this is the bottom. It's been painted on the bottom, and it is clear coated on the top side. Tania will explain that part of it later. But basically, we've got this hole that sits here. So the wire will come in from behind the shiplap into this hole, and it will route to the first puck light, which sits here. From there, the wire will actually go through a hole that I've drilled through through this piece of wood, and then the second puck light will fit here. So this will actually sit on top of this piece. Now, to keep the clothes and all this stuff from getting tangled in these wires, I built these little tops, and this is absolute garbage plywood. The lumberyard actually just gave me this because it was all cracked and really cheap stuff. So I'll make better ones at some point, but right now these will just fit here on top of the shelves. They've got a little finger hole so that you can pull them out. There's a door, there's a hole there so that we can route the wire directly underneath here. So the wires and the puck lights will be completely separate from the contents of these cabinets. And this will sit in here like this. Some of the things I did different on this one, on the first cabinet, I did a lot of this sort of through woodworking where these long rails kind of came through the end pieces, which is really strong, but kind of makes for a sloppy looking outside. So on this one, what I did was I pocket holed. So that one probably has a little more stability because it's got a little more glue, but I was able to pocket hold these, and this way went a lot faster, and it's still really strong. So another thing we did was we added these shelves on the outside of each of the cabinets. So Tania will be able to put books or a little plant or something, and that'll sit on the outside. So at the end of the day, the cabinet will look like, let me see if I can do this with one hand. So the cabinet will look like that inside, with this piece laying in here. This piece will lay in here, and the shelf has a nice border around it of some spare 1x2 pine, and Tania will be able to put her things on top of that. So that is what the new cabinet looks like. And then we've got face frames. I've got face frames somewhere. I think they're actually drying outside. That's them right there. These are also built out of 1x2 pine, and these will sit right here, and then the shaker style doors will sit on top of them.
Okay, I'm gonna go through a couple of materials that I used when I was painting the cabinets. Pretty easy, simple stuff, not a whole lot of materials you're gonna need. Some wood filler, and I have this little handy dandy spatula which made it really easy to apply and cover up the nail holes. This is some pretty cool stuff. It goes on pink, and when it dries, this one turns to a natural color, so it looks like the wood. So I like this stuff. And then once it's dry, don't forget to sand it down. You'll see some glue, and then obviously you're gonna want to sand over it, make sure and kind of just prep the wood. So the lower the grit, it's definitely gonna be a lot coarser. So I started off with an 80, and then I finished it off with a 220 grit to make the surface really nice and smooth. Then I wiped, you're gonna need a rag. Some people use a damp rag. I personally don't. I just wanna make sure that everything is really nice and clean. And then my favorite part, I use disposable gloves because I certainly don't want to mess with my nice little manicure. I did use a semi-gloss paint. I have to admit, I've done painting before, but this is the first time I've ever done cabinet work. So in the future, I have learned I'm gonna need to do some sort of primer. I didn't know to do that really, so kind of learning as I go. So next go around, I will definitely have to prime because I ended up having to do a couple coats. So I put on a coat and I wasn't really happy with it. And so I sanded it down, and then I had to coat, paint it again, and then do that a couple times. So next time I will have to add a primer. So that is probably the only thing that I will have to suggest for next go around is add a primer. I did use a foam roller. This is a 4-inch. I did also purchase a 6-inch. I did also purchase these black foam brushes. They came highly rated on a lot of YouTube videos, and I tried to use them. I personally did not care for them, but it was a little helpful trying to get in a little of the cracks and so forth, but again, I didn't like them. I think it's going to be personal preference. For me, the foam rollers work just as well. I was able to push them into the corners just fine. And then you're going to need a little roller, and then don't forget you're going to need a tray. So as far as materials are concerned, that is pretty much what you're gonna need to start painting your cabinets. It really does make it a lot easier to paint them now versus painting them now before they're hung, in my opinion, because there'll be wires, and also I'm sure you're eyeing this cabinet behind me and you're probably wondering, why is it not painted on the inside? Well, that's a really good question. So it is clear coated on the inside. I chose not to paint white on the inside for durability, and I thought it was just gonna look a lot nicer. I also did not paint nor did I clear coat just the outside edge of this, because Mark is going to add a face frame to the cabinets, and I really just wanted that wood to be raw so that the glue would adhere a lot better. And that's pretty much it for the cabinets. So hope it was helpful for you.
Hey, look what just showed up.
Me.
No.
Coffee.
Below it.
Webasto heater.
Yeah.
Woo, woo.
That's another video. For now, we go hang cabinets.
Yes, let's go hang some cabinets.
So we are at the van, and we're going to try to hang a cabinet. I've got to admit, I've been anxious about this for weeks. I'm expecting we're going to hang the cabinet, we're going to hit a bump, and the cabinet's going to fall off, and the wall's going to cave in, the window's going to break. But I'm thinking that's not going to happen, because we see other people and they're on YouTube and they're like, I put my cabinets up with a stick of gum and some spit and water and it's been holding for years. So I'm thinking these should work. So here's what we've done. We have some 1/4-20 bolts in the wall. I pulled them out and I found longer bolts, longer 1/4-20 bolts. These are going to go through holes in the cabinet and hopefully screw into those 3 spots, because that would make it really strong. Also bought some 1.5-inch cabinet screws. A lot of YouTubers just use these and it holds up really well. So I'm using these as kind of a supplement. And I've also bought, if I really want to be crazy, I could stick some of these through the ceiling. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I could stick these through some of the framing of the cabinet and into the ceiling, just to make sure these hold. This could be total overkill. I don't know what we're going to use, but we're going to start with these bolts and hope that they all go in and hold the cabinet.
So as my husband is completely freaking out, I'm cool as a cucumber, and I'll tell you why, because I know everything he does is so secured and he does a great job. So I'm really confident in everything that he does. So I'm just really excited to get this done and see the cabinets up. I'm really excited.
Okay. Here we go.
It's gonna be great. So
It's gonna be
here
great.
Here we go.
I could have been a contender. That was my Marlon Brando. We don't even know if it's actually holding in anything. We're hoping. Man, I'm negative. All right, you shifted, all right? They're like, we want to watch her, but man, he's negative.
2 to go.
2 to go.
There it goes. Okay. Done. 2. See, I told you.
Huh. Huh.
I told you.
So I know it's hard to believe, but I was totally wrong. The cabinets went in just fine. This one actually took us a little bit of work. This one went in much easier. I think the problem is when we first started to build the van, these were the first plus nuts I put in, and they probably weren't real straight, so it was hard to get them. Even though we knew where they were because of our little Play-Doh trick, it was still hard to get the plus nuts into them. So let me show you what we've got. We've got 3 1/4-20 bolts. These are either 2 or 2.5 inches long. They go completely through this cabinet, the 2x6 behind it, and into a plus nut that's in the metal frame. So those 3 are holding the bulk of the cabinet weight. Then there's a couple of 1.5-inch cabinet screws that go straight into the framing above, and then some 3-inch cabinet screws here that go through this piece, the shiplap, the framing behind it, and then a piece of framing behind that. So this is super, it feels like I'm shaking the van, to be honest. So we're really happy with the way these came out. The bottoms are on. The next thing we're going to do is attach our puck lights, and then our cabinet saga will be at a close.
So this is my first time we have LED puck lights, and this is the second cabinet. Mark has already installed the other 2, and I am about to install my first puck lights ever. Super cool. Yes, okay, I'm a very girly girl, but I'm not afraid to try something new. Do I pinch it and go, do I go this way?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you try not to crimp your fingers,
Ow.
like that. Don't do that. Tell everyone not to do that.
Ow, I know. It's like if it's like a mouse trap or something. Okay. Okay, so wire goes up, pinch. I know I can do this. Can do it. Ta-da! Yay! Okay.
One more.
One more. So ladies, if I can do this, you can do this. So wires go up and then you pull the little spring back. Watch out for your fingers.
And your manicure.
For your fingers. And voila. And then here's the wires, which I'm sure one of these is gonna get fed through. Let's see, we're gonna feed this through. I'm gonna step up here since I'm all of a good 5'3", because dynamite comes in small packages, and we're gonna feed this through the wire, the hole.
And if they watched our video on building the benches, you can see how strong they are.
Yeah, you can see how sturdy and strong they are. So you're going to take this other wire and this, we're going to connect. Mark is going to teach me how you connect the negative poly to the negative and the positive to the positive. So we can have some electricity so I can sit here and read a book. And yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So because all the lights are connected in parallel, we really only have to connect all the black wires together and all the white wires together. So we've run a single black-red pair through this hole to this light, and there's a bunch of different ways you can connect them. Here we'll do a simple, we'll get a smaller one. Yellow should be good. Give these guys a little twist. And because these are easy to access, right? These aren't buried in the wall or in the ceiling or anything. I'm less concerned about these things coming loose, because if they come loose, I'll just do them again. And that'll at least hold them for while we get the electrical system set up and tested. Then if I want to change these to something different, I can do that. But that at least that's that side connected. And now we've got to do the same on this side. Another thing you can use is these little fancy, I don't know what these are, but they're, get them at Home Depot. They have these little clips. Here they are. They have these little clips on the back of them that open and allow you to put a wire in there, and then you can crimp them all together. So we can take all the black wires and that's one connection on the black side. And that's it. So you've got the blacks connected together here, and the reds connected together. Here you've got the same thing, except here we're using a wire nut. So both of them work. I would not use these like in the ceiling or behind the wall, because if they come loose, you're gonna have a big problem. So always try to make these wire connections to where you can reach the connections if you need to. So I know a lot of our wires we ran pretty much a single wire for all these lights. We basically ran a single wire from here to here. So basically once we pull this down, we have access to the wire. So there's nowhere in this whole van, there's no splices behind walls or within the ceiling where we can't get to it if something goes wrong. So something important to remember.
So I'm standing inside of the van. This is the part of the kitchen where we're gonna have the kitchen sink. And the shiplap over here, I had a bright idea. I changed my mind after painting it white to change it to black.
Black?
Yes, yes, as an accent wall.
Oh.
So I have a, so let me tell you what I did. So as we came back over here to work on the cabinets, I needed to prep the wall. So I used some wood filler, but unlike the one that I used for the cabinet, this one dries, it goes on pink, but it dries white because the shiplap is white. And so I put it on in some spots in some areas that kind of just didn't look too good. So as I was helping Mark with the cabinets and doing that and letting this dry, and when it was the putty was turned white, then I knew it was ready to be sanded. So I used 220 grit sandpaper and got it nice and smooth, and then got it all wiped off. And he had this little handy dandy hand blower, and so he blew it off, and then I wiped it everything down. So it looks really nice. It's all prepped, and let me put this down. I have 4-inch foam roller and the little foam frame and a tray. And I only bought a little bit because I don't need a lot. So this is, you can just get this little sample. And yeah, so we are going to paint this as the accent wall. So here we go. So here it is, it's all complete. I love how it turned out. So leave us a comment below and let us know what you think.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We actually got a lot done. We got the rear cabinets put in, which we've been waiting on for a while. And then we got some paint work done. And this wall was an unexpected thing, but it looks really good. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Looks
Thank
really
you.
good.
You did an awesome job on the cabinets.
Thank you.
Yes.
So thank you for sticking around through all this. We will be back next week. We're going to start the electrical system. I've got to install a ground wire, and we're going to go through that process next week. Plus, we have to start this kitchen cabinet here. So I've got that drawn up in SketchUp. Plus, we've got the electrical system drawn up, which we're going to be sharing with you soon. We're going to be back to working regularly on the van because we've got a lot more light out and we can record a lot more. It's also warming up a little bit. So thanks for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, or give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.